This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Monday Mashup on Detroit Sports Podcast Network, brought to you by The Athletic. The Athletic is premium sports coverage for sports fans who want the best coverage possible. It's writing without ads. It is a subscription-based website covering all sports from football to football, actually just recently expanding their Premier League coverage to now have individual writers covering the Big Six in the British Premier League. If that is your thing, if you're an EPL guy, if you're a soccer guy, you got to get a subscription to The Athletic. And the Detroit Sports Podcast is here to help you out. We are offering a 30% discount to any listeners who want to subscribe to The Athletic. All you have to do is go to theathletic.com/DSP, theathletic.com/DSP, and you're going to save 30% off on a subscription to the new sports page, the best content site in sports media, The Athletic. Go check it out. Get a subscription on us, 30% off. theathletic.com/DSP. Okay, we are kicking off the Monday Mashup. Me, Shea Norling, your host as always, my good friend Tanner Seltzer joining me again, and we have to start off with one of the wildest stories that could have possibly happened this week. It ended sort of tragically, but man, has it given me a lot of joy in reading through this, because Tanner, just kick it off for me. Explain what we're talking about.
All right, so I don't know what day it was. I think it was like Thursday of last week. A man in Seattle stole a plane. Plain and simple, you heard that right. This is some GTA, Grand Theft Auto 5 type of thing. This man stole a plane out of Seattle TAC Airport. It's an international airport, and people were getting videos of this man flying around, and the internet lost its mind. This quickly became one of the top stories of the day. Dude just straight up stole a plane, and he worked for the airline company, and no one knew what the hell was going on. It was certainly one of the crazier stories I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and it's just the conversations that he had with the air traffic control are some of the funniest things I've ever heard. I don't know, like, how do you steal a plane with zero prior experience? Like, you're working at an airport, so you have more access than most people would, but still, like, you've never been a pilot. How do you steal a fucking plane? That's insane to me.
It's pretty simple, Shea. You just pull up, right, and then you turn left and turn right.
It's like starting your car. You just pop the keys in, turn the engine on.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah, just with elevation now. It's pretty simple.
All right, so we have to start this off. The guy unfortunately crashed and died. There's no real explanation for why he felt like stealing a plane from the airport. But he did lose his life. He passed away. But on his way out, gave some of the greatest content in the history of content when he was talking to the air traffic controller. One of my favorites, early in the flight, a controller was giving instructions to him while he flies the plane, and he responded, yeah, that's all mumbo jumbo. I have no idea what all that means. I wouldn't know how to punch it in. I'm off autopilot. Like, this guy's just flying in circles in the greater Seattle area, stealing a plane. He's freaking out about not knowing how to do any of this shit, but he's just having a blast while he's in the cockpit. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, in reality, this story isn't funny, but we're messed up in the head and we think it's hilarious. So, I mean, to each their own, I guess. But just the thought of just some random dude who works at an airport just jumps in the cockpit and just takes off. Like, well, first of all, how the hell does that even happen? It's a completely empty plane, no passengers on board. Just throw that out there for our listeners. Yeah, no one else died, just this man. But I couldn't even imagine just what I don't understand what was going through his head is what I want to know.
Dude, I don't think we're ever going to know what was going through this guy's head. He seems
obviously not.
He seems like a zany nutcase from the things that he's been saying to these people. And one of them, he said, "Alrighty, hey pilot guy, can this thing do a backflip? You think?"
Oh my god.
He said, "I'm going to land it in a safe kind of manner. I think I'm going to try to do a barrel roll, and if that goes good, I'm just going to nose down and call it a night." And they said, "Well, before you do that, let's think about this. I've got another pilot coming in just a minute or two, and he'll be able to give you advice on what to do next." And then he said, "Oh man, not enough fuel left, and not enough fuel to get by. I got 760 pounds. I'm going to do this barrel roll real quick."
Oh my god. No way.
Like,
this man, This man grew up playing Nintendo 64 and playing Star Fox, and he just hears "do a barrel roll" in his head.
Right, dude? Like he's literally just going through the Star Fox 64 quotes while he's flying this plane. They even asked him. They were like, "Do you need any help?" And they said apparently a ground. This is Horizon, the company he works for. The controller's talking. They said apparently a grounds crewman with Horizon. And right now he's just flying around and he needs some help controlling his aircraft. And he said, nah, I mean, I don't need that much help. I've played some video games before.
Oh, my Lord. I can't believe it, man.
He's like, I played Microsoft Flight Simulator. I don't think this is going to be that tough.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah. I used to have a joystick hooked up to my computer, so I think I could go to DTW and steal a plane if I wanted to. I'd be fine.
Yeah, let me know how it goes.
Yeah, just tell me how do I start it, how do I go, and then how do I land. I'll be okay. I've landed planes on simulators plenty of times, bro. I could do it.
Yeah, I have faith in you.
That's the thing. People are so quick. They want to be like all these kids playing video games. It's why they're shooting up schools now. No, look, we're learning valuable skills. This guy successfully flew a plane around until he ran out of fuel because he played video games.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's that, and there's also those astronaut simulators. You can learn how to land a spacecraft and stuff on the moon. So
there you go.
Video game, man.
I could fly to the moon safely. Yep. I've done it in a video game. I could do it in real life.
That's the next move.
It's like, dude, you and I, big Madden guys. We play Madden so much. Like we should be able to be offensive or defensive coordinators on a real NFL team.
I still believe that.
Yeah. I think it's a literal fact.
Yeah, give me 10 years, I'll be there.
I mean, I already do it from my armchairs, so what's the difference? Give me a play sheet, give me a team, and I'll take over.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a good idea. Speaking of the NFL, moving on to another wacky story that came out like literally 2 hours ago. And listeners, if you haven't seen this picture, you have to look it up. Our longtime, most famous neckbeard on the planet, Andrew Luck, has gotten rid of his neckbeard in favor of a Luckstache? Mustache? Let's call it Andrew Luckstache.
It's something. It's interesting. It's kind of scary, honestly. Like I'm petrified looking at the picture. Dude, I don't know about you.
I can't decide if he's about to cook up the best burgers that anyone has ever eaten in their life, or if he's not allowed within 100 yards of a school.
He literally looks like he's from the 70s. Like, there's a bunch of pictures on Twitter comparing him to people from, like, the 70s, like, and 80s. You know, Freddie Mercury, Ron Burgundy, even though he's not from then. But that's a good one. But the number one that came to my mind, Shea, was if you've seen the movie Napoleon Dynamite, he does look like Uncle Rico.
How much you want to bet I could throw a football over them mountains?
Yeah, exactly.
He's getting ready to... He probably lost a bet, and that's why he had to shave the neckbeard, and now he's just all in on this Uncle Rico look, or like Ron Burgundy. He's got the Tom Selleck look going on, and he looks like he could be maybe one of the most famous porn stars of Generation X.
I'd watch. Okay, I'm kidding.
I didn't know how to react to that, dude. Honestly, though, if Andrew Luck did porn with this mustache, a lot of people would watch. There would be a level of intrigue that I think most people would have to go, all right, look, I got to check this out. Especially if you're a Colts fan, that's my quarterback.
Dude, all I know is this mustache is going to give him superpowers, and he's going to have the greatest season of any quarterback ever. So just look out. He's number one overall fantasy quarterback. Hot take.
Well, I don't know if you saw the preseason game, but that dude could throw a football.
I mean, I would hope he could throw a football, but yeah.
All the stories of he hasn't thrown a football in a year. And then he came out in that preseason game, and his shoulder looked okay, but... Man, this is a new Andrew Luck. This is not the. I got so used to the Andrew Luck of old with the huge neckbeard. I don't know if you follow the Twitter account Captain Andrew Luck, where they send letters home as if he were a Civil War captain.
I've seen a couple tweets.
They tweeted out, "Dearest mother, basic training continues to progress splendidly. My sidearm proficiency increases with every round expelled, and because it has more than earned it, my neckbeard has taken some of its accrued annual leave. The days continue to brighten."
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, that neckbeard deserved a break, man. It put a lot of work in over the years.
Whatever Andrew Luck does with his facial hair, I'm gonna follow because I love the neck beard and I'm a neck beard grower myself, so I gotta just keep going. I'm gonna shave my stash exactly like that now.
Yeah, I'm going full mustache. Andrew Luck's a trendsetter. That's what people forget.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and follow suit, and I'm gonna go with the '70s Tom Selleck porn star mustache. I think it's a good look for him. I think it's a good look for me.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to bring old things back. Bring them back into the light.
Let's talk a little football. I am officially, after not only watching the preseason game, but also watching Hard Knocks, I am self-proclaimed president of the Baker Mayfield fan club.
You and about 500,000 other people are the president.
None of them are slapping for him as hard as I am. I'm committing myself to being the biggest Baker Mayfield slap on the planet.
I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, first of all, the Hard Knocks episode that you brought up, if you don't watch Hard Knocks, you need to watch Hard Knocks if you're a football fan.
Yeah, steal your grandma or your mom or your neighbor, steal their HBO and watch Hard Knocks.
Yeah, it's great quality content, and that was this. I mean, even though it's only been one episode, this is already shaping up to be one of the best seasons of Hard Knocks you could possibly imagine. Just so many storylines.
One, before we get into, let's just say, may Hugh Jackson's mother rest peacefully. That was very sad. And yeah. I thought it was interesting. Like, he's talking about how his mom died and how his brother, I think, had just passed as well. And it all happened in a couple weeks. And in the middle of talking about it with his coaching staff, he was like, yeah, man, it's crazy. All right, so this Inside Zone is what we're looking at, right? And he was just right back into film. Like that, true football guy in Hugh Jackson.
Yeah, definitely. What other way can you deal with that? Is just get back to work, and that's what a lot of people do. They just go back to their routine, and it helps them cope. But one of my big things from that show was Jarvis Landry. He apparently is supposed to be this, really quiet guy, but he had a crazy speech that went viral on the internet and stuff, and he said the F-bomb at least 50 times in a 2-minute span. So that was pretty sweet. I got enjoyment out of that.
I felt like I was watching a Martin Scorsese movie when he got up and gave that speech.
Yeah.
I tell you, it was like the Wolf of Wall Street. But it was an incredible speech. It had me. I don't even care about the Browns, if I'm being honest. Like, beyond Baker Mayfield, I don't care. But I was ready to run through a brick wall. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then one of the speech was based around people sitting out, due to injury or whatever. And he's basically saying, if you can play, you need to be out there on the field. And this later in the episode led to Hugh Jackson addressing this with the team and the coaches, and he got into it with his coordinators, Todd Haley, and I can't remember the defensive coordinator's name. But anyway, they were all against Hugh Jackson, and I will give Hugh Jackson a lot of credit. He stuck up and he said, basically, listen, this is my ship, this is my team, and I'm going to run it this way, and you guys are going to have to deal with it, plain as that. Yep. And I was like, I respect the shit out of that.
He said, and great. I understood what Todd Haley was saying, because basically what the disagreement is, we want to get, this is how it's been happening the past couple years. You're protecting your guys. You're protecting your number one guys. You're not putting them out in practice as much. You're not putting them in games as much. And Hugh Jackson said, look, it's preventative measures. And then Todd Haley goes, well, if you're just going to have guys sitting around, then week 1 comes around and they're not ready to play. And it doesn't make sense to me to do that. And Hugh Jackson just said, look, man, I've sat in that chair. I'm sitting in this chair now, and I got to look at things a little differently. And this is the way it's going to go. And at the end of the day, I'm the captain of this ship, and we're going the way I want to. And I was like, okay, Hugh, I see you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of agreeing with him just because there's so many. You see headlines like once a week or more than that of season-ending injuries to these young players or just players in general. It's like you don't want your season to start on that note.
Yeah.
So I gotta agree with him.
I'm with him on it too, but it really, to me, also gave me a level of respect to him because I think it's very clear that he's a man who is all in on what he did this past offseason, and he's all in on what he's building in Cleveland, and he knows, look, if it doesn't work this year, I'm not going to have this job next year. But he is ready to go, and he believes in his system, and he is all in on it, and I respect the hell out of that too.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think this would be a good transition point to quickly talk about that game. You brought up Baker Mayfield. He threw a couple nice dime passes in his first preseason game, so I mean, future's bright for them.
Dude, Baker looked very good in that game, and Tyrod Taylor looked really good as well. And I know it's preseason, and we tend to overreact a little bit, especially the first week when, starters only play like a series, if that. In the Lions' case, Stafford didn't play at all. But just by what I saw from Baker, and especially what I saw from Baker Mayfield in Hard Knocks, and this is a take that is probably a little bit hot, but I think there's a lot of merit to it. There was a scene in Hard Knocks where they're running a scrimmage and Baker Mayfield's out with the twos and he hands the ball off to Nick Chubb, who goes for a first down, and Baker Mayfield screaming for Nick Chubb to get the first down, to a huge fist pump, headbutts a player. And I'm like, dude, this is just a training camp scrimmage and he's acting that competitive. Reminded me of Tom Brady.
I mean, Brady's also a super competitive guy, and I guess you can draw that comparison with Mayfield. So, I mean, it's super early. This is, preseason training camp stuff. I mean, I'm not going to go that far, but I'm looking forward to what he'll do on the field.
And that's why I said I know it might be a bit of a hot take, but it's kind of interesting that the parallels, because Brady was a guy who wasn't highly recruited out of high school. He came to Michigan. He was told he was going to play. Didn't play as much as he was promised. Came to the NFL as a 6th-round pick. Always kind of had a chip on his shoulder. Was like a 3rd-string quarterback. Baker Mayfield, kind of the same situation. Walked on at Texas Tech. Left Texas Tech. Transferred to Oklahoma without announcing it to the athletic department. Walked on again at Oklahoma. Then becomes a number 1 overall pick, and he's put in a 2nd-string spot where he has to compete again. This is a guy who has just always known adversity up until becoming the 1st overall pick. I feel like that chip never goes away once you have it, though. Like having to not being recruited out of high school and having to walk on twice. He's always going to have a chip.
Yeah, and then people, tell him in the draft, he's got attitude problems, he's got this problem, he's too short, he's this and that. So I think you're right. He's going to have that chip on his shoulder going forward, and I think he'll perform, and I think he'll be a really good, solid quarterback for years to come.
All the people that called the Browns stupid for not taking Saquon Barkley and taking Baker Mayfield instead, or not taking Sam Darnold, like, yeah, he got picked number 1, and you would think, like, ooh, I'm a fucking boss. I got picked number 1 overall. I'm the best ever. But really, it's like, he got picked number 1 overall and then turned on ESPN, and every pundit in the world was like, this was a dumb pick for the Browns.
Yeah, and I was a big Baker Mayfield fan from jump, just because I think he brings a whole new style. Not a new style, because, I mean, Russell Wilson and players like that have the same type of skill set, but I think he can escalate it even further.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he also has like a lot more, especially for his size, he has a pocket presence about him that you wouldn't expect for a guy who's that short and kind of smaller as a quarterback. But he's not scared to stand in the pocket and step up and make all the throws, which is really impressive. Yeah.
So I'm already excited for week 2 of Hard Knocks, just to see, how the game was from the Hard Knocks perspective and all the players and what they're saying. So,
dude, I love the way, especially when they get into showing the preseason games, the camera work and all of that is just so incredible. And I think they use the NFL Films cameras, so you get that like really nice sideline view and all those awesome angles. And it's a really cool way to like get inside of a preseason game and see what's really going on the sidelines.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think this is a good time to transition to another preseason game, and we're going to bring it a little closer to home, not too far away from Cleveland, of course, in Detroit. They went out to the West Coast, had to play John Gruden and the Raiders, Mr. Quarterback Guru himself. They looked a little shaky at first, Shea. But, of course, let's remind the people, Overreaction Central, it's week 1 of the preseason.
Yeah. Matthew Stafford didn't play. That's a big thing, that you're going out and you're starting a 2nd-string quarterback, and we had to watch Matt Castle. And, like, also, it's just, you can't take everything away from that first series, because that's the only time we saw the ones anyways. And when you think about a Matt Patricia defense, this is what I keep seeing on Twitter, and kind of what I was saying, too, is, like, we were giving up gash plays to Connor Cook on defense. And that I have questions about. But you just mentioned John Gruden, quarterback guru. Maybe he finally figured out Connor Cook's questionable footwork, got him to throw a little more accurate. And also, like, Matt Patricia defenses never start strong, ever. So I'm not hugely worried about that either.
Yeah, and I think you might be right on something about, Connor Cook. He looked really like just confident and solid in the pocket, and whatever he did just looked like he was going to do it. And, maybe like you said, it's John Gruden, and maybe he can do that with Derek Carr too. I mean, they only played one series, their starters, but and I want to say one thing too is, like, the Raiders are kind of one of those teams that, like, in 2016 they were a pretty good team. In 2017 they kind of had a down year. I still feel like they have a lot of talent on that team that can work forward and have a good record into the 2018 season. So maybe just Lions fans need to relax a little bit, just chill out. And like you mentioned, a lot of the starters didn't even play. I will say one of the bright spots for me was Frank Ragnow. He played almost the entire first half, actually, and he just looked solid. He looked exactly what we thought we were going to get from him.
A guy who's not going to allow sacks, who's going to kind of set the tone on the offensive line, and he's anchored by a veteran in TJ Lang. I mean, I think he's in a very good situation where he can come on and be an instant impact player on that offensive line. And another standout was a guy we've both been high on since the draft in Kerryon Johnson, and it's a guy that I've argued the Lions should use as their feature back and forget LeGarrette Blount. Use Blount as the battering ram for third and short and goal line situations. Feature Kerryon Johnson. And I'll tell you what, he sure as hell didn't hurt his case in his performance in that preseason game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think by week 1 of the regular season, Kerryon Johnson will be the starting running back. I think it's just the writing's on the wall. I think this was more of like, all right, we're going to throw him in with the second stringers and third stringers and let them kind of get used to the speed of the NFL, just because this is their first live action of real competition. So, I mean, I think, by week 3 of preseason, you'll see him out there running with the ones. He'll be out there with Matt Stafford and so on and so forth. But I think, yeah, like you said, this dude, I think he's the real deal. I think he's legit, and he had some great runs. And also, not to mention Amir Abdullah, who everyone loves to hate. I thought he looked really good in the preseason game. He had a 1-yard touchdown run, and he showed great patience on that run too. He waited for a hole to open, and he just exploded through it and scored. So I think the running backs looked promising for week 1. And of course, I'm not going to overreact just because it is week 1 preseason, but that's my one high note for the game.
It is interesting bringing up Amir Abdullah too, because I noticed something in the first series where I noticed that Oakland on offense was going against the Lions defense, who had Clint Agnew lined up in the slot corner position. And I was like, all right, cool. So we're going to see him return a punt here when they went to the punt situation. But Matt Patricia sent out Abdullah as the punt returner instead of Agnew. And I was wondering, I guess I'm still wondering, how far is that experiment going to go? Because it's kind of clear to me that Kerryon Johnson and LeGarrette Blount are going to be the 1-2 punch at running back for Matt Patricia. So I think, is he experimenting a way that he can keep Amir Abdullah involved because he thinks Abdullah maybe is still a special talent if he can stay healthy, and maybe if he's involved in the return game more so than he is in the run game, that could be the spot for him?
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, last year Jim Caldwell actually tried him out. He was like the third punt returner or something like that last year. But of course, last year he was the number 1 running back. Like, he was the go-to guy as far as the running backs were concerned. So I think maybe now that it's pretty clear that he's either going to be a third string or a fourth string, why not try him out back there? And maybe he did show some potential. I do question why Agnew's not back there, because he showed so much talent. He scored 2 or 3 touchdowns on punt returns alone. So it's interesting to see, but I don't know how far it's going to go. And only time will tell. I mean, this guy we're not in practice every day. We don't see what Abdullah's capable of on punt returns and kick returns. So maybe they know something that we don't.
Yeah, and obviously the coaches know more than we do, and Patricia's a guy too who has always, especially in his defensive coordinator days in New England, kind of specialized in a mix and match style of putting players out there. So it could be a situation where now he's a head coach and maybe he wants to do the same thing with the offense, where it'll be very, very sub heavy instead of, running like these are the ones and these are the guys that are going to play. It might be a lot of different rotations and substitutions going on in his offense even, because that's the way he always ran his defense.
Yeah, and I mean, that was kind of the Patriot way on offense too, was, they had, 4 solid running backs that they'd throw in there at any time, and you never really knew which one you were going to get. I mean, they had obvious situations, and I think that's what you're going to see this year, with Kerryon Johnson being the feature back, and then LeGarrette Blount short yardage, Theo Riddick on passing plays, and then Abdullah is the wild card. I mean, he could literally do anything, and maybe that's the formula. And unlucky for guys like Zach Zenner, who actually I kind of liked in previous seasons. I think he got a lot of hate unbeknownst to him, like it wasn't really his fault for the stuff that went wrong. But I think this year is going to be pretty solid for the offensive side of the ball for Detroit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positives. And like we already went through and did our preview for the NFC North where we both picked the Lions to win the division. I haven't wavered away from that at all. In fact, I'm leaning more heavily towards it as more news comes out of Packer camp. Then we see that Aaron Rodgers is not only mad at coaches for getting rid of Jordy Nelson without telling him, who's not only mad at coaches for whatever was going on with his offensive line, but now he's doing interviews after camp and he's calling out his wide receivers and he looks kind of unhappy and disheveled. And dude, that interview he gave where he was calling out the wide receivers, he looked more strung out than I've ever seen him in my life. So I think this division maybe more wide open than we think, but the Lions really have a shot if it's trouble in paradise in Green Bay.
Yeah, and I mean that's so ironic coming from Aaron Rodgers, who's Mr. RELAX. Well, I can't spell, but and he's always telling the fan base, oh, just chill out, we're gonna be okay. And usually he's right, but it's pretty telling when he's already like freaking out for the most part. And as far as the division being wide open, the Vikings played yesterday against that stout Denver defense, and they moved the ball with ease. Shea, I don't know if any of our listeners or if you watched the game last night, but I was actually amazed at how crisp Kirk Cousins looked already and how fast that offense just cruised through that defense. They only played one series, but like it was just like boom, 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 touchdown. So,
I was at the bar and I was kind of peeking over and watching parts of that game. And I went back this morning and watched a little bit of the highlights from the first series too, with when Kirk Cousins was on the field, and I was impressed because I didn't think it was going to be that seamless of a transition where Cousins kind of looks like he just went into an offense that he already knew. But also, I always thought that this defense in Denver would have growing pains because it's not the same, and Bradley Chubb is going to play such a huge role. And we still don't know how Vance Joseph is as a quarterback or as a coach when he has an actual quarterback and when he has an actual roster put together for him. So this year's going to be interesting because we're going to see a lot of differences out of Denver. But you're right, dude. The Vikings looked good in the small sample size. And that is like frightening on the one hand, but also I still have questions about Kirk Cousins' longevity through a season to actually get a team to the playoffs.
Yeah, and then they still have that solid running game, and Latavius Murray looked good. Like he looks like in shape, like one of the most in shape players I've ever seen in the league. And then if you just accompany that with Dalvin Cook, if you have a 1-2 punch at running back along with Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, and apparently this new offensive coordinator in Minnesota loves the tight ends, so maybe Kyle Rudolph's the guy you're gonna look for a breakout year this year. I don't know, man. Like they impressed me, and I don't want to be impressed by them.
Yeah, and I feel the same way, especially with the Vikings, is coming from the team that they were a year ago, went 13-3, obviously had one of the best defenses. I think they ranked number 1 in total defense, actually. So it's a team that it's scary if you're a Lions fan and you're looking at Minnesota and you're like, oh, wow, everything is actually kind of clicking. And especially when you watch Dalvin Cook run the ball and go, didn't he just tear his ACL? Because he doesn't look like it at all. That dude just looks like a powerhouse. I don't know what is in the water in Minnesota, but if I ever tear my ACL, I want to go there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then not to mention, we forgot to touch on the Jets game. Teddy Bridgewater, he came in and he looked great too. Maybe they know something like this dude. I mean, he didn't look great last year in Minnesota. Like he came back for a couple of games or whatever, but he looked solid. He looked like he could be a starting quarterback somewhere. Maybe I'm overreacting. It is like we keep iterating. It's preseason week 1, but the dude looked great along with Sam Darnold too.
I tell you, the Jets might have a decent situation in their quarterback competition between Josh McCown and Sam Darnold and Teddy Bridgewater, because not only did Teddy Bridgewater look solid, but Sam Darnold looked really good too.
Yeah, and maybe this is where we jump into our division breakdown on the AFC East. And I think we should start right there, Shea, with the New York Jets, and we'll talk about Sam Darnold. He looked, like you said, he looked great. And he looked like just, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it. He just looked like a guy who stands poised in the pocket. And, everyone thought he was going to be the number 1 pick, and maybe not being the number 1 pick, maybe he's playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. But Also, he's out there with third stringers, so maybe we're all overreacting a little bit.
Here's the thing about the New York Jets. I'm going to ask you a simple question. Todd Bowles still the head coach?
Yep.
6-10, buddy. Run it. As long as Todd Bowles is in town, losing record.
And there's Shea's breakdown for the New York Jets.
That's it. That's all I got for you. Dude, I think the future is bright for the Jets from a roster standpoint, but they're going to have to get rid of Todd Bowles at some point because that guy is not doing it.
Yeah, and listen, just quickly glancing at the Jets' schedule, they have one of the toughest ones I think I've seen so far of us doing these division breakdowns. So yeah, I'm probably right there with you. I think maybe they improve on their 5-11 season from last year. Maybe they win one more game, go 6-10. I think that's a fair number.
Yeah, and like you said, the schedule's tough. They got to go to Detroit for obviously that Monday night game to open the year. They have a road game in Jacksonville. They host Denver. They have to go on the road to Chicago, which is going to be a tough spot to play this year. They go on the road to the Nashville and take on the Titans. They get the Packers at home, and then obviously they have to play the Patriots twice. Their schedule is kind of a gauntlet throughout the season.
Yeah, and then they even have plays at or teams at home that they're playing, the Vikings, the Colts, Texans at home. Like, yeah, these are not easy teams that they're going to have to go through. So it could be even worse than 6-10 if we're going to be completely honest.
Yeah, and as much as like we can say Josh McCown had a nice year last year, because it's true, he did. He's never been like a real starting quarterback, like a full-fledged starter. He's always kind of been a backup that'll start on a bad team. But he's 38 years old. Like, he's not a spring chicken. At some point, it's likely that Sam Darnold is going to be named the starter, or Teddy Bridgewater at some point down the road this season. Dude, I don't know if this team can win more than 5 games, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think we will see Sam Darnold probably, in my guess, just based on looking at the schedule, probably week 6 against the Colts at home. I don't think they're going to throw him out there against Denver in week 5. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a Jets fan, maybe that's something you look forward to, just looking at your star rookie quarterback coming in, getting some time, getting some experience. But, yeah, it's not looking good for them in New York.
Yeah, and obviously, in the AFC East, that seems to be decided every single season. It's just a tough division to play in, too, really. And if we continue to move up in reverse order of last year's standings, because we started with the 5-11 Jets, let's go to the 6-10 Miami Dolphins from a year ago, who people, for some reason, are really high on this team this year, and I don't understand why, because if I'm looking at it kind of objectively, the only pickup of note is that they stole my wide receiver, Danny Amendola, and they're getting Ryan Tannehill back. But other than that, they lost Ndamukong Suh, who, love him or hate him, was a difference maker in that front 7 last year. And, dude, I don't know why anyone is so excited about this team. Like, Ryan Tannehill has never been that good of a quarterback in his career to have this much excitement. And Jay Cutler, who was actually decent sometimes last season, just retired. So what do you have in Miami that Miami Dolphins fans are like, this could be a pretty good year for us?
I think their optimism comes from, one, like you mentioned, Ryan Tannehill coming back, and 2, their offense has some decent pieces. So maybe that's where they're kind of hanging their hat on, that they could be, maybe a middle of the road team. But like you mentioned, but man, their defense is like absolutely terrible from what I'm looking at here. You can just literally just go look at their roster, and there's like maybe 1 or 2 players of note. They got, Robert Quinn, Cameron Wake, and maybe Minka Fitzpatrick, who they drafted number 8 overall in the draft. That's really about it on the defensive side of the ball. That's like really piquing my interest. So I don't really know where the optimism comes from. I mean, on the offensive side, you touched on Danny Amendola, who's also, he's 32 years old. I didn't know that. He's getting up there in age. But yeah, they got guys, Devontae Parker, Danny Amendola, and then they drafted my personal favorite pick of the draft was Mike Gesicki out of Penn State. That dude's an absolute stud. He's Rob Gronkowski 2.0 in my opinion. He
is very good. And they also got Frank Gore is in their running backs now, and Kenyon Drake is still on the team. But it's a team to me that nowhere is it a guy that I would think has a shot at being really a Pro Bowler or an all-pro type player. Even Amendola, who has been exceptional in clutch moments for Tom Brady in his tenure in New England, he's not a guy that I look at and I go, yeah, he's going to the Pro Bowl. Like Devontae Parker, everybody goes, well, he's a fantasy sleeper every single season, and everybody's like woke on it so much that he's really not even a sleeper. But it's not a guy that I look at and go, he's a Pro Bowler. Really, the only guy that I could see going to the Pro Bowl on the roster is Cameron Wake.
Yeah, and I'd maybe throw in Robert Quinn just because, he had a decent season in LA last year, and then he comes over to Miami. Maybe opportunity there, I don't know. But yeah, like you said, I don't understand optimism. I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know how Frank Gore is still playing in the league. The dude's 35 years old as a running back. He's been in the league for 14 years, and this is his 15th season. That's absolutely mind-blowing to me. But yeah, for me, Shea, their overall record, just looking at their schedule, quick glance, and just thinking of the pieces that are on there, I'm probably putting them just above New York at like a 6-10, maybe 7-9 at most.
Frank Gore is going to play till he's 50 and just have 300 yards a season every single year and just slowly climb his way into being the NFL's all-time leading rusher. I think that's his end game play.
Yeah, he's just going to keep collecting his paycheck and then just rack up some useless stats that are going to be held against him in the end just because he played for so long.
He'll be 42 years old, and he'll be like, dude, you can give me a $750,000 contract and play me in garbage time only. Just let me get like 10 carries a game so that I can get enough yards to be the NFL's all-time leading rusher. That's all I want. Or let me climb the ladder a little bit.
The dude's literally a dinosaur. I don't know how he's still in the league.
It's shocking, especially at that position where you take so much punishment. So if we're going to keep moving up, next is to the Buffalo Bills. This is a team that last year went 9-7. That was a fringe playoff squad. That this year I think could have the biggest fall off of any team in the NFL because of their quarterback competition full of studs like A.J. McCarron, Josh Allen, and Nathan Peterman. And who knows what's going to happen with LaShawn McCoy. So I don't know, dude. They don't have Sammy Watkins. They haven't had him for a while. Kelvin Benjamin's their best wide receiver. I mean, obviously Charles Clay is a factor, but really, I don't know. Chris Ivory, imagine LaShawn McCoy can't play and Chris Ivory has to come in and play football for the Buffalo Bills, dude. And they play in the AFC East, which every team has a tough schedule this season, and you got to play the Patriots twice. I don't see this team winning 9 games again. I don't see them having a winning season again.
That's interesting. I don't know. I think, the defensive side of the ball for them is pretty solid by, NFL standards. And, I think they can repeat that. If they can repeat that success on the defensive side, they could be a contender. And it's all going to come down to Josh Allen, because I personally think that he will get the starting nod come week 1. And maybe if not, he'll be in there pretty soon after, maybe week 2 or week 3. I don't have faith in A.J. McCarron, and no one has faith in Nathan Peterman after he came in and threw 5 picks in his first NFL game ever.
I can't believe that guy's on the roster, to be honest.
I don't know how he's in the league, period. But I mean, they got promising pieces. Kelvin Benjamin, like you touched on, and LaShawn McCoy is always a factor. He's always somebody who could come in and just put up numbers. He's getting up there in age. He just hit the 30-year-old mark, so maybe some question marks there. But I'm kind of disagreeing with you. I mean, like you said, this could be either a really, really bad team in Buffalo, or it could be a team that's maybe shocks some people. Maybe they become a fringe playoff team again. And like I said, it's going to come down to Josh Allen. But as of right now, I'd probably peg them at 8-8 and maybe a 9-7 team again.
I tell you what, this team reminds me of the Los Angeles Rams of 2 years ago, when they had Jared Goff drafted and they went with who'd they have a quarterback? But everybody was like, why isn't Jared Goff playing? They kept coming out and saying, look, he's a project. There are a lot of things that we have left to work on. And they spent that
Case
first
Keenum, wasn't it?
What? Oh, it was. I think it was Case Keenum. And they kept saying, where's Jared Goff at? They said, look, he's a project. We took him first round. There's things we have to work on. He's not NFL ready yet. I think that's kind of the same situation with Josh Allen, and maybe we'll end up seeing A.J. McCarron be the starter for the brunt of the season while they kind of work through the project that is Josh Allen. But then I think 2019 Buffalo Bills might come out and we'll see the Jared Goff of last year in the form of Josh Allen, and they'll be like, okay, well, this is the guy that we thought we were getting, that there was questions coming out of college, but he's really good now. And I think that's where the Bills look to me, and that's why I could see them being like a 5-win team this year, because they're going to go through all those growing pains and they're rebuilding their roster and they have a lot of different new pieces. And I think they're going to go through a lot of that change and the pain that goes with it. The 2019 Bills are a more interesting squad to me.
Okay. I mean, that's fair enough. Of all the three teams we just touched on so far, which one do you think has the most potential to have a breakout potential like wild card season?
I'm glad you said wild card because none of them can win the division. Probably Miami.
Yeah. Okay. I'd probably agree with you on that. I think it's either Miami or Buffalo, depending on the rookie quarterback, Josh Allen. So
I don't know. I think it's another year where you look at the AFC East and you go, yeah, there's one good team in this division. And we all know what team that is because they go to the Super Bowl seemingly every single year. The New England Patriots. The question is this. Is this the year the wheels come off, or do they have one more ride off into the sunset?
I think for me, Shea, this is the year that the wheel starts wiggling. You know, like you ever see a kid riding a bike and like the wheels are kind of off the handle or whatever, and it's just kind of shaking. I think that's what's going to happen this year. I don't think they're going to completely fall off. I think that comes probably next year. I think you just look at the schedule too. On top of losing Matt Patricia, who has been their longtime defensive coordinator, they lose some key players too that we'll probably touch on here in a minute. But I'm just going to touch on their schedule. Their first 4 weeks: week 1, home against the Texans, who's not an easy team at all. Week 2, they go to Jacksonville. In a rematch of the AFC title game. I think Jacksonville is going to be very hungry in that game. They're going to be pissed off that they lost that game. That's one they got to look out for. And then the following week, they come to Detroit and play our hometown Lions. And Detroit will be on a short week that week, but I don't think that's an easy game either. These are hard 3 games that they open with. So maybe people are going to be overreacting. Like if they come out of there 2-1, obviously they're ecstatic. 3-0, great. But there's potential here to go 1-2, in my opinion, Shea, just to start the season.
I think 2-1 is probably what you're looking at. I do think that they go to Jacksonville and lose. I don't see a situation where they go there and win that game. Jacksonville is a team that's bringing back almost its entire defense. The same front 7 that put Brady in the torture chamber for the better part of 3 quarters. And like you said, they're going to be furious that they gave up that game in New England in the playoffs. So I don't see a situation where they go into Jacksonville and they win that game. The Houston game, well, it frightens me a little bit. I think because it's so early in the season and because Houston probably has more question marks than the Patriots do, and also because Belichick doesn't lose to his former assistants, i.e. Bill O'Brien, you win that game. Same thing when you go to Detroit. Belichick does not lose to former assistants. I'll take the Patriots in that game too. But I don't see a situation where they go to Jacksonville and win. If they go 3-0 through that stretch, I would be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, their schedule is actually pretty easy, just going down the line and looking at it. But I do have questions about the Patriots, Shea, just overall. To me, this is not a year that they win the Super Bowl or even go to the Super Bowl. I just think you're bringing in a new defensive coordinator. And you know, Belichick's a known defensive guru. We all know this. But their defense is full of guys that, have had success on other teams. And, it's just I question the consistency of this team on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not going to question the offensive side because they still got Tom Brady. They still got Rob Gronkowski, and Julian Edelman's coming back for this year. So
they added Sony Michel. They went heavy on offensive line to protect their 41-year-old quarterback. I think the offense is going to be fine. I agree. All of the questions for this team are on the defensive side. But the one thing that not enough people are talking about, in my opinion, is the signal caller is coming back, man. Dante Hightower is a guy who could easily be a Pro Bowl linebacker, and he's a piece that was sorely missed in last year's season.
Yeah, and I mean he had the injury bug last year, so I mean if he can stay on the field, he's a big factor for that team, of course. But I just think, to me, they're the clear-cut winner in this division. I'm not questioning, no doubt in my mind, they're winning this division. My question is, do they have enough to carry themselves to another Super Bowl appearance? And to me, that's a no. I just think they don't have it this year.
I'm going to hold off on our Super Bowl pick until we get to the week before the season. That Monday before the season starts, I want to reveal our Super Bowl picks. Of course. I'm not comfortable in going on and saying, do I think the Patriots can get there? I do. And I think it depends on kind of their path through the playoffs, and it depends on what some other teams do too. And I'm going to think about a lot of those things while I go into making my pick. Do I think that the AFC Championship should be as on the schedule as ever? Yes. I think the AFC is clearly the inferior conference to the NFC, and outside of Jacksonville and New England, and Jacksonville's a team that I don't know that I trust to do what they did last year. So I really am looking to Houston as the team I see in the AFC. Houston and Denver are the two teams I see in the AFC that kind of give me worry as a Patriots fan, or for how far this team can go. But I think they still have what it takes to get there. And just, if you have Tom Brady, and this is assuming that at 41 years old, he comes out and is as MVP caliber as ever, as long as you have Tom Brady, I think you're in the mix.
Yeah, and there was videos of him, throwing the ball, and he looked just as crisp as he was last year. So, I mean, there's no evidence that he's falling off yet. And everyone keeps saying, oh, this is the year he's going to, take a step back, and he's going to start seeing that, decline in his play. But, I mean, as of right now, until I see it, I'm not gonna hold it against him, because I've tried predicting the year that he falls off, and he never does. So I'm just done. I give up.
Everybody says it, man. You remember Max Kellerman 2 years ago? He said Brady's gonna have one more good year at 39, but when he turns 40, that's when he's just gonna fall off the cliff. Oh yeah, really, Max? Because you won MVP. So as much as we keep saying this is the year that he falls off, because every other quarterback has done it at that age, no other quarterback has done what Tom Brady has done. So I'm done saying that he can't keep doing this. Just until he shows me he can't, I have to believe that he can.
All right, Shea, with all of this being said, give me the overall record for the Patriots this season.
I'm going to err on the side of caution, which is insane for the number I'm about to give.
15-1.
It's insane for the number I'm about to give that I say I'm erring on the side of caution, but I'm going to go 12-4.
12-4. All right. To me, I'm going to go 11-5. And that's not some crazy, oh my God, that's a terrible season, but
that wins the division.
Standards, yeah, that wins. I mean, I think 9-7, even 10-6 wins this division, because Jesus Christ, this is terrible. But yeah, I think 11-5. I think you do see a little bit of a decline in overall record from this team. Not that their record's hard, not that their schedule's hard, excuse me, but they just, they're due for some games that maybe they shouldn't lose. And we've seen it in the past that they've lost a couple games they probably should win, and they go out there and lose. So maybe we'll see a few more of those this year. But yeah, I'm going 11-5.
Also important to note that the Patriots got whiter than ever in adding Eric Decker. They are, again, the whitest team in the NFL. I'm not sure that they have any player in a skill position on offense with pigment at all. I don't think anybody in the offense, wide receiver, running back, tight end, quarterback, offensive line, I don't know that there's, Marcus Cannon aside, I don't know that there's a single person that has any melanin in their body at all in the starting rotations.
It's kind of scary. Just quickly, just because I'm curious now. They have Kenny Britt, Cordell Patterson, and Dwayne Allen. Sony Michel. That's really about it.
Okay, so but your starting running back is Rex Burkhead, white. Tom Brady, white. Julian Edelman, white. Eric Decker, white. Rob Gronkowski, white. If I go through the offensive line, we all know what an offensive line looks like.
Well, that's racist.
Well, I'm just being honest, man. Look at offensive lines through the NFL. I think Marcus Cannon and the rest of them are white guys. It's just funny to me that it's, again, like the one criticism every year, and it's not even a criticism. It's just like a joke at this point. Oh, Patriots and all their white guys on offense, and this year it's literally all white guys.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say, just because it's just the same thing every year.
Even if Kenny Britt is your wide receiver 3, then your top 3 wide receivers are white.
Yeah,
it's shocking.
Yeah, I don't know. Bill Belichick knows something that we don't, apparently.
Dude, so. I don't know. Maybe they really are Aryan up there in New England. Who knows? But no, I tell you, I think there's a chance that we could see the Patriots go like on 11-5 or 10-6, because maybe they go the Warriors route and they're like, look, we're in a division where our number one threat is going to be Ryan Tannehill and the Miami Dolphins, because the Bills are going through the most ridiculous quarterback competition in history. The Jets are going through one of the most ridiculous quarterback competitions in history. The Miami Dolphins are the only other team with some level of consistency in the division, and they're trash. So I think there's a chance that the Patriots could go, look, let's just ride cruise control to the playoffs. The AFC Championship's basically on the schedule. Let's just ride it out.
Yeah, I mean, even if you get the 4 seed in the AFC, I think you could power through and get to the AFC Championship like you touched on. So
yeah, I could see him just kind of put it in cruise control and then turn it up for the playoffs.
Maybe you better hope that doesn't they don't get complacent over there in Boston, but I'm excited for the season so far. So let's get to it, man.
Really quick, I don't want to go through all of the teams in this division and give X factors, because we've said so many times in this preview that like the Bills, the Jets, the Dolphins all have their set of question marks. The Bills and the Jets specifically, I'm not going to bother doing an X factor. You have 3 quarterbacks that are vying for a starting position on both of those teams. You have defenses that are filled with question marks. You have offenses that are filled with question marks. You have coaching staffs that no one in the world trusts. So as far as X factors on those 2 teams, I don't think it's necessary. What are we talking about at that point? What the X factor that brings you from a 6-win team to an 8-win team? Who cares? So for Miami, because I think they can make a wild card run, and for the Patriots especially, I want to do X factors on those 2 teams. So let's kick it off with Miami, and I will say my X factor for that team is Cameron Wake, because just in the game that they played, I think it was Monday night in Miami against the Patriots last season, Cameron Wake, even more so than Ndamukong Suh, was able to come off the edge and create a ton of pressure and really keep Brady off balance, and that's why the Dolphins were able to win that game. And that was the Patriots' 3rd loss of the season last year. I think if Cameron Wake can kind of cause that same disruption in a line that's less talented, the Dolphins will be in a good place. And I think that their success, if they have it, is going to come from the defensive side of the ball. So Cameron Wake's my X factor for them. Okay,
I respect that. I think Tannehill is the X factor, clear cut. I draw towards the QBs a lot in these X factor things, just because the QB can win you games by himself, and we've seen it with other quarterbacks. And Tannehill coming off a major injury, I think he's got to come out and perform. I didn't like signing Jay Cutler last year for, I think, what was it, $10 million or something like that. They paid him some ridiculous number just to be Jay Cutler, basically. So I think they're getting upgraded at quarterback again with Ryan Tannehill. He showed some promise before he got injured. So I think the season comes down to him and whether or not he can propel them to a playoff appearance.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think it's easy to go to the quarterbacks for X factors, obviously, because you are the most important position on the football field. And if you aren't doing your job, your team's probably not going to be very good. As we say in Detroit, as goes Stafford, so goes the Lions. So I think it's easy to kind of lean on that, and it's definitely accurate. If we go to New England, though, again, I'm going on the defensive side of the ball, and I already kind of touched on it. If you look at 2 years ago in the Super Bowl in Atlanta, everybody wants to talk about Tom Brady and how incredible he was in the 4th quarter throwing the football. And everybody wanted to talk about how much of a difference James White made coming out of the backfield in the passing game. But what people often forget is the Patriots would not have been in a position to win that game if Dante Hightower didn't come down and strip sack Matt Ryan and get the Patriots the ball back in plus territory. Dante Hightower, to me, is maybe the biggest cog to keep the Patriots in line for winning a Super Bowl, even more so than Tom Brady. Because I think if Tom Brady has a fall off, he won't go beyond game manager fall off. He'll still be an adept game manager. If you lose Dante Hightower, I think you see what we saw last year, and you have a defense that's just going to get gutted repeatedly by even inferior offenses, like we saw against the Eagles giving up 44 points. Belichick doesn't give up 44 points, or like we saw against even Jacksonville and how they were able to kind of just roll over the Patriots in the first half. We saw Patriots defense that gave up a lot of points last year, and I think a lot of it is because they were missing the signal caller and that kind of difference maker in the defense in Dante Hightower.
Yeah, and I'm going to stick with the defensive side, but I'm going to go with the coaching staff. I'm going to go Brian Flores, who is apparently the Patriots. I don't know if this is true or not, Shea, but did the Patriots ever name a defensive coordinator?
That's an interesting question. I was just thinking about that as well, and I don't know that they did. They're kind of going the Michigan route in not naming an offensive coordinator. The Patriots aren't explicitly naming a defensive coordinator. Very good chance Bill Belichick's going to be calling plays.
And apparently, well, from what I'm reading, Brian Flores, who was the linebackers coach last year, will make the defensive play calls. So I'm going to go with him, and I'm going to go with Brian Belichick, just because you already know he's going to have his mind into the defensive side of the ball. He's always been a defensive-minded coach, and it's going to come down to them making this defense better than what it is. I think, like I mentioned before, they have a lot of players that are kind of like mismatch players, kind of just throw them in there and see what you can do with them. And that was what Matt Patricia was really good at, was getting the most out of players that you may have, not expected. So, I mean, are they going to be able to repeat that success on the defensive side of the ball and create a defense that can just keep the Patriots in games and let Tom Brady get the ball back and do his thing? So, I'm interested to see if they can do it. I'm kind of leaning towards they're going to have a little bit of a fall off compared to what they were last year. And like you said, they got gashed in a lot of games. I think you're going to see a lot of that this year, Shea.
Yeah, and it's definitely possible, but I just have, and maybe my expectations are too high, but I have a lot of faith placed in Dante Hightower and his ability to be a difference maker. The other guy I want to talk about just really quick is how important it is that Josh McDaniels is staying. And if Brady does show any sign of fall off and age starts rearing its ugly head, a lot of that's going to fall on Josh McDaniels to put him in positions to succeed and just kind of manage the game. So I think the coaching staff is definitely going to be a spotlight for this team this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you.
All right, well, that's all the time we got for the Monday Mashup this week. More awesome content next week. Don't forget to go to theathletic.com/DSP. Subscribe to The Athletic. We'll give you 30% off. That's theathletic.com/DSP. And thanks for listening to us. See ya.